Hey there, amazing friends. I warmly invite you to join me on this exciting journey by subscribing to my channel, liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. Every like, comment, and share brings us closer together and fuels my passion to create more great content. Your support truly makes all the difference. Thank you for being the heart of this community. Secret of the Missing Passengers, the enigmatic night train, and reappearing tickets. In the dead of night, when the world seemed to hold its breath between the final echoes of dusk and the uncertain promise of dawn, a mystery unfolded on a long-forgotten railway line that cut through a remote stretch of countryside. The legend of that eerie night train has persisted for decades among those who recall its strange occurrence. A train that appeared as if from nowhere, carrying passengers who would vanish without a trace, leaving behind only a scattering of reappearing tickets and unanswered questions. It all began on a chilly October evening when an old station master named Harold Whitmore noticed something peculiar at the abandoned platform of Ashbury Junction. Though the station had been closed for years, the rusted clock on the platform tower still ticked away in solemn silence. That night, a faint rumble approached in the distance, a sound reminiscent of a locomotive's steady chugging, yet far softer than any modern train. Whitmore, who had spent his youth amidst the clamor of railway schedules and whistle blows, stepped out onto the platform, curiosity outweighing caution. At first, he saw nothing but the inky darkness and the mist that curled around the rails. But then, emerging through the fog like a ghostly apparition, came a train with worn, creaking carriages painted in a faded burgundy and charcoal. Its headlights as though powered by an outward electricity. As the train pulled into the station, the atmosphere seemed to change. He peered into one of the cars and found it empty, at least seemingly so. Dust motes danced in the weak light, and the interior bore no sign of recent use, only the remnants of a bygone era. In the main carriage lay a stack of old tickets, yellowed and fragile, each bearing a date from nearly 50 years earlier. Their edges still remembered Ashbury Junction's glory days. Some claim that the train was a relic of a secret schedule, a phantom service that had once carried important passengers during wartime, disappearing as quickly as it arrived. Others whispered of an accident that had occurred on those very tracks, leaving behind a trail of souls unable to move on. The tickets, inexplicably reappearing with every encounter, became the most baffling clue. Each ticket was inscribed with a time and destination, but all were for journeys that were never completed. Some bore the destination eternity, others simply read unknown. They seemed to appear as if the train itself was marking its passage through time, leaving behind fragments of lost lives. Intrigued and disturbed by these accounts, investigative journalist Rebecca Moore decided to visit Ashbury Junction herself. Rebecca was known for her relentless pursuit of the unexplained and had a reputation for unraveling mysteries that defied conventional explanations. Arriving at the derelict station, she found it shrouded in fog, the sound of her footsteps echoing on the cracked pavement. The old station building, its paint peeling and windows dark, looked like a monument to forgotten history. With her digital recorder in hand and a notebook tucked under her arm, Rebecca waited in the silence, determined to catch a glimpse of what the locals called the night train. Hours passed slowly. The only sounds were the distant cry of a night bird and the whisper of wind through rusted signs. Just as she began to doubt the legends, a low, rhythmic chugging approached from the dark. The sound grew steadily louder, accompanied by the clatter of wheels on rails. Rebecca's heart pounded as she watched, transfixed, from behind the safety of the overgrown platform. Out of the dense fog, the train emerged, the same ghostly burgundy and charcoal carriages, exuding an aura of melancholic grandeur. It slowed as it neared the station, coming to a gentle stop. The train's door creaked open, and a gust of chilly air swept across the platform, carrying with it a faint, sorrowful melody, an almost imperceptible wail that seemed to emanate from the depths of the train. Rebecca stepped forward, her recorder capturing every sound. As she entered the car, the interior was shrouded in half-light. The seats were old velvet, cracked with age, and the walls were adorned with faded advertisements for journeys long past. In the center of the car, on a small table, lay a single ticket. Its ink was smudged by time, but the details were clear. Destination: eternity. Departure: 10:47 p.m. Confusion and a chill of dread washed over her. She flipped the ticket over, only to find a series of cryptic symbols that she did not recognize, a language that seemed to belong to an ancient, forgotten era. In that moment, as if in response to her inner turmoil, the train began to tremble. The lights flickered, and the ticket on the table slid slowly across the polished wood as if pushed by an invisible hand. The eerie wail from outside grew louder, mingling with a low hum that resonated through the carriage. Rebecca's eyes darted to the window. Outside, the fog parted just enough for her to see a fleeting vision, a blur of faces, sorrowful and pleading, passing by as though they were riding on the mist itself. The sight was so brief that when she turned back, the image was gone, replaced by the silent, empty car. A sudden sense of urgency compelled her to leave. Clutching the ticket as evidence, she hurried back to the platform. As soon as she stepped outside, the train began to pull away, its wheels clacking into the distance, until it disappeared into the fog as silently as it had come. Rebecca stood there, her heart racing, the ticket still warm in her hand. That night, she listened to her recording over and over. Amid the static and the creaking of the train, she could clearly hear the soft whispers of voices, a chorus of lost souls calling out, "Remember us. Join us." The voices were layered and indistinct. Scattered, unexplained tickets, and a lingering sense of unease. Some families reported that their loved ones had boarded the night train and never arrived at their destination. There were even whispers among former railway workers of a hidden schedule, a service that transported more than just people, perhaps even souls, from the realm of the living to an unknown fate. Local lore mingled fact with fiction. Some elders claimed that the station master once locked the doors of a train car as it departed, sealing in the passenger's fate. Others recalled that on moonlit nights, the sound of laughter and sobbing could be heard from the old carriages, a paradoxical symphony of joy turned sorrow. Rebecca interviewed one such elder, a man named Mr. Aldridge, whose eyes held decades of unspoken grief. He recounted a tale of his cousin, who had been an enthusiastic traveler. One night, as the train's beam swept over him, he vanished without a struggle. Aldridge had searched desperately for years, holding on to the belief that the train had taken his cousin to a better place. Instead, he was left with a single reappearing ticket that his cousin had clutched in his hand, a ticket that now served as both a memento and a curse, as it reappeared in his possession every anniversary of that night. The more Rebecca learned, the more the truth became elusive. Was the enigmatic night train a supernatural conduit, a liminal vessel bridging the gap between life and death? Or was it a cruel trick of nature, a phenomenon caused by rare atmospheric conditions and optical illusions that played upon the minds of those desperate for meaning and loss. The evidence was fragmentary, a ticket with cryptic symbols, eyewitness accounts that fluctuated like the shifting fog, and recordings that hinted at voices from beyond. Yet the consistency in the details, the red glow of the beam, the unexplainable wail, the inexplicable reappearance of tickets suggested that something unearthly had indeed occurred at Ashbury Junction. In a final act of determination, Rebecca compiled her findings into a detailed report and uploaded it to her YouTube channel. The video, intercut with grainy footage of the train's ghostly approach and interviews with local witnesses, struck a chord with viewers worldwide. Comments poured in, some offering corroborating accounts, others debating scientific explanations. The discussion was fierce, with one side arguing for a paranormal portal that had swallowed the lost passengers, while skeptics posited that the reappearing tickets were mere artifacts of a hoax engineered by a deranged collector of railway memorabilia. Yet even as heated debates raged online, one fact remained undeniable. That fateful night at Ashbury Junction had left a mark, not just on the landscape, but on the hearts and minds of those who witnessed it. Now, years later, the legend of the night train endures. Travelers passing by the desolate station on foggy nights claim they can still hear the rhythmic clatter of wheels on rail, and some say they see a solitary beam of light slicing through the darkness along the old track. In quiet moments, if you listen closely, you might just catch a whisper on the wind, a soft, mournful invitation. Join us. It is a reminder that some mysteries refuse to be confined to the past, that even in our modern age of digital surveillance, the missing passengers remains unsolved, a puzzle that continues to beckon, drawing in the curious and the brave to seek answers in the silence of the night. And perhaps, if you ever find yourself on a foggy evening near an abandoned station, you might look up and wonder, could you be next, swept away in the mysterious embrace of a train that vanishes into obscurity, leaving behind nothing but a faint, unending echo of lost souls?